GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Here are our top stories.
Automatic low-speed test trains have started running on the future REM branch toward Montreal Trudeau Airport the week of August 13th, marking progress toward completing the airport segment by the end of 2027. Camille Dowsett has the full story.
Automatic low-speed test trains have started rolling along the REM's new branch that will serve Montreal Trudeau Airport. The trial runs began this week, with the driverless units shuttling back and forth on the dedicated tracks that will eventually link downtown Montreal to the airport. Engineers are monitoring performance and fine-tuning signaling as the line moves toward full service. The goal is to have the airport segment fully operational by the end of 2027, completing the first phase of the Rapid Transit Network's expansion. Officials say the tests are a key step toward delivering a seamless, zero-emission connection for travelers and commuters alike. The test corridor stretches roughly 2 kilometers, weaving through industrial zones before reaching the airport perimeter. Camille Dowsett, GMNA News, Dorval.
College students at Collège de Maisonneuve can now sit down with senior mentors for just 25 cents per session. The new initiative pairs students with older volunteers who share life experience, career guidance, or a listening ear, all for a symbolic fee. Organizers say the modest charge encourages commitment while keeping the service accessible. Participants schedule brief meetings through the campus counseling office, and conversations range from academic worries to personal growth topics. The program, launched this afternoon, aims to bridge generational gaps and give students a trusted outlet for advice. Seniors involved report feeling valued and connected, while students appreciate the low-cost, real-world perspective. The college hopes the model will inspire similar mentorship schemes across the province. Sessions run twice weekly in the campus library, and enrollment is open to all first-year and second-year students seeking guidance.
Drivers are being warned that parking will disappear at numerous locations across the island as the city prepares for the World Cycling Championships. At 3:30 this afternoon, municipal officials announced a phased removal of curbside spots, with closures scheduled to coincide with race routes that thread through downtown, the Plateau, and the East End. The reductions will affect both street meters and private lots and will be in effect for the duration of the event, which runs through the weekend. Motorists are urged to consult the city's online map and consider alternative transit options, including the Metro and BIXI, to avoid delays. The temporary measure is intended to keep race lanes clear and maintain safety for athletes and spectators alike. Violators risk fines and towing, as traffic officers will monitor the affected zones throughout the competition.
Quebec has begun a 12-month pilot at the Roberval Detention Center, mandating uniforms for inmates to curb contraband flow. The government says the measure aims to strengthen security. Simon Fortier has the full story.
Quebec officials have kicked off a 12-month test at the Roberval Detention Center, requiring every inmate to wear a standard uniform. The move aims to make it harder for illegal items to slip through the prison's doors, officials say, by removing the ability to hide contraband in personal clothing. Wardens will hand out the new outfits this week, and guards will check that each piece meets the prescribed design before it's worn. The pilot will run through the next year, with the province planning to review the impact on contraband flow before deciding on a wider rollout. It joins a series of recent steps the government is taking to tighten security across Quebec's correctional facilities. Simon Fortier, GMNA News, Roberval.
At 10:36 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, officials from the Newfoundland and Labrador government and the Quebec government announced a tentative agreement that would allow Newfoundland and Labrador to route its hydroelectric output through Quebec's transmission system and sell the electricity to markets beyond the province. The proposal, developed with input from a former senior civil servant, seeks to broaden access for the province's power generators, which have been constrained by the decades-old Churchill Falls contract. Under the new framework, power would travel the existing high-voltage lines that connect the two provinces, leveraging Quebec's extensive grid to reach buyers in eastern Canada and the northeastern United States. Negotiators said the deal could open additional revenue streams for Newfoundland and Labrador while diversifying supply for downstream markets. Both provinces said they will continue detailed discussions before finalizing the arrangement.
Later we'll hear how the new naloxone program aims to save lives across the province. Plus more after the break. We will be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news. Welcome back. Urgences Santé announced today a province-wide naloxone distribution project aimed at curbing the recent surge in opioid overdoses across Quebec. The initiative will roll out kits through pharmacies, community health centers, and harm reduction sites beginning this afternoon, with training provided to first responders and volunteers on proper administration. Health officials say the measure responds to a sharp increase in overdose incidents over the past several months, a trend that has strained emergency services and prompted calls for broader preventive tools. The province plans to supply enough naloxone to reach high-risk neighborhoods and to track outcomes through a centralized reporting system. Funding for the program comes from the provincial health budget, and authorities will evaluate its impact on overdose mortality rates over the coming year. Officials also indicated that the distribution will be coordinated with local addiction services to ensure follow-up care for individuals who receive the antidote.
Quebec may stay non-bound by the ACEUM trade pact, Premier Fréchette says, as the province voices concern over Ottawa's ongoing talks with Washington. Simon Fortier has the full story.
Quebec officials are signaling they may stay outside the North American Trade Pact currently under discussion. Premier Fréchette told reporters the province will keep the option to declare itself non-bound by the Canada-U.S. Mexico Agreement, known as ACEUM. Minister Skeet echoed that stance, saying Quebec is watching the Ottawa-Washington talks closely and remains uneasy about the direction of the negotiations. The government said the province wants to preserve its ability to opt out if the deal threatens its economic interests or regulatory autonomy. Quebec's position adds another layer to the already complex trilateral talks, as Canada and the United States continue to hammer out the final text. Simon Fortier, GMNA News, Quebec.
Business meetings, international sporting contests, and a slate of summer festivals are driving a surge of visitors that could make this the busiest tourism season on record. Data compiled by the non-profit Tourisme Montreal shows that arrivals during the May through July window are already exceeding previous highs. The city's convention center hosts dozens of corporate conventions, while the Bell Center and Place Bell are packed with hockey playoffs, soccer matches, and the PWHL Walter Cup finals. Meanwhile, the Jazz Festival, Just for Laughs, and the Ashiga music event are drawing crowds from across North America and Europe. Hotel occupancy is nearing full capacity in the Plateau, Mile End, and downtown core, and local restaurants report longer wait times. Officials say the combined pull of business, sport, and culture is keeping the economy vibrant throughout the summer.
Police say a violent assault unfolded this morning on a downtown street when a male cyclist struck a man in his 60s, delivering a forceful blow that left the older victim with a critical head wound. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, but the assailant fled the scene before officers could intervene. Paramedics rushed the injured man to a nearby hospital, where doctors confirmed a severe head injury requiring intensive care. Investigators have opened a homicide-style investigation and are canvassing the area for witnesses and surveillance footage. Officers secured the intersection, collected forensic evidence, and are interviewing nearby residents. The Montreal police have appealed for anyone who saw the attack or captured it on video to contact the department. No arrests have been made, and the suspect remains at large. The investigation remains ongoing.
Research scientist Jan Boulanger of the Canadian Forest Service says British Columbia's climate, terrain, and higher population density are amplifying wildfire impacts compared with Quebec, where recent fires have been less severe. Simon Fortier has the full story.
Jan Boulanger of the Canadian Forest Service told Quebec AM that British Columbia's wildfires are hitting more people than those in Quebec because of three key differences. First, the climate in Western Canada brings hotter, drier summers that lengthen the fire window. Second, the terrain in the mountains and valleys creates faster spread and harder access for suppression crews. Third, population clusters sit closer to forested hills in the southwest, so more homes sit in the path of flames. While both provinces face seasonal fire risk, the recent season has been markedly harsher in British Columbia, driving larger evacuations and more property loss. Rachel Watts also highlighted the growing strain on emergency services across the West. Simon Fortier, GMNA News, Montreal.
Let's get a look at your night forecast with our meteorologist, coming up next.
A westward jet surge locks high pressure over Montreal, stifling clouds and sealing today's dry, stable finish. On this date, Montreal's thermometer once climbed to 32.1 degrees Celsius in 2021, a blistering peak that rode the tail end of a lingering heat wave across southern Quebec. The coldest mark fell to 12.1 degrees Celsius in 2022, recorded during an early autumn Arctic blast that shocked locals. By contrast, today's climatological normals hover around 26 degrees for the high and 14 degrees for the low, underscoring how today sits comfortably between those extremes. The live radar screen is a clean slate, with no echo signatures over the province. A ridge of high pressure dominates, suppressing lift and keeping moisture aloft. The fast westward jet at 500 kilometers per hour slices across the upper troposphere, steering any stray disturbances north of the city. With the flow locked in place, precipitation is unlikely tonight, and the air will stay dry until the next system arrives later in the weekend. At 11 tonight, Montreal sits under a thick overcast veil, temperature hovering at 18 degrees Celsius, humidity 71%, and a gentle west wind 16 kilometers per hour. A high-pressure ridge is strengthening, pressure rising, and the fast westward jet at 500 kilometers per hour caps the column, sealing out any lift. With the jet stream anchoring the flow, clouds linger but no new moisture will be forced upward, so precipitation remains off the table. The UV index reads 6, and the strongest gusts will peak at 22 kilometers per hour from the west later this evening. No weather alerts are in effect. As the night deepens, the atmosphere stays stable, setting the stage for tomorrow's clearer skies. Friday will break the high-pressure lull with a crisp high of 22 degrees Celsius and a low of 12, under clear skies that let the night cool quickly. Saturday climbs back to a mild high of 23 and a low of 11, but cloud cover thickens, keeping the sun hidden. Sunday introduces the weekend's only rain window. A modest high of 22 gives way to a low of 16 as a weak trough drifts east, bringing 60% chance of showers that should be brief. Monday returns to overcast conditions, high 24 and low 16, as the ridge reasserts itself. Tuesday caps the stretch with a bright high of 25 and a low of 18, clear skies persisting. The pattern shows a high-pressure backbone with a single mid-week disturbance, delivering a pleasant run. And that's your weather. Remember, the wrap is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll break down today's traffic, preview what's on tonight, and catch on our Canadians as the season heats up. We will be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
And now here's Jason with sports.
Busy Thursday for the Canadiens, moves made, more potentially coming. The Canadiens made it official tonight, inking forward Sasha Pastujov to a one-year, two-way deal for 2026-27. Montreal acquired him from Anaheim, and the two-way structure tells you everything. He'll need to earn a roster spot, but the front office clearly sees upside worth developing. Kent Hughes isn't done shopping. The Canadiens' GM is open to pulling off a trade as late as September or October, provided the right dance partner surfaces. And if nothing gets done, Hughes is reportedly comfortable with where this roster sits, which signals real confidence in the group he's already assembled. The Canadiens' prospect pipeline check-in, Hayden Popinkies lands at number 22 in the team's top 25 under-25 rankings. Montreal traded up to grab the 6'5" center in the third round of the 2025 draft. He spent last season with the Kelowna Rockets, showing incremental growth as a prototypical power forward. Camp opens soon, that's when the real answers start coming.
Thanks, Jason.
Welcome back. Canada's first regenerated liver transplant was performed on a 64-year-old Quebec man, marking a breakthrough that could yield dozens of additional organs within its first year amid a persistent donor liver shortage. Simon Fortier has the full story.
Doctors at a Montreal hospital performed the continent's first transplant using a lab-grown liver on a 64-year-old man from Quebec. The regenerated organ, cultivated from the patient's own cells, was implanted after a brief surgical procedure and is now functioning, offering a new option where donor livers are scarce. Researchers say the technique could generate dozens of viable grafts within a year, potentially easing the chronic shortage that has plagued transplant lists across North America. The patient is recovering in intensive care and will be monitored for long-term outcomes as the medical team gathers data to refine the process. The procedure was overseen by a multidisciplinary team including surgeons, bioengineers, and hepatologists. Simon Fortier, GMNA News, Quebec.
After 3 decades as a film set, the 19th century Canadiana village in Quebec reopens to the public, offering historic tour and modern experiences for visitors and independent filmmakers. Elise Marchand has the full story.
After 3 decades behind the camera, the 19th century Canadiana village opens its doors again for the public. The owners have restored the timber-framed houses and period furnishings, aiming to preserve the architecture while adding modern amenities for visitors and emerging filmmakers. Guided tour now walk the same backlots that hosted dozens of productions, and new signage points out the site's place in Quebec's cultural heritage. A temporary exhibit displays antique tools and costume pieces uncovered during the renovation. Visitors can wander the main square, where a restored carriage house now holds a small cafe serving local pastries. Handheld audio guides are offered in English and French, sharing stories behind each building. Elise Marchand, GMNA News, Canadiana Village.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us on the wrap. Today's look at the automatic test trains heading to Trudeau Airport highlighted how our city keeps moving forward. We appreciate your curiosity and will be back tomorrow with more stories that matter to you. I'm Peter Miller. See you tomorrow.